Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again, and today we are going to be ranking every Twisted Metal 3 character. And just like with my previous tier lists, I'm going to be talking about not only the stats of the vehicle, but of course my own personal thoughts and opinions, and this is my personal list. And normally I'd be taking into consideration the character themselves, like their backstory and how interesting they are and whatever, but let's be honest, every character in this game sucks in terms of their backstory, their ending stories, their wishes, the whole shebang. So we're going to basically erase that from our memory. What we're looking at strictly is just the design of the vehicle, how it handles, the special weapon, and how fun it is to use. That was like the main criteria I'm using to put these cars in their places. And we're going to start from going from left to right. We're going to start with Sweet Tooth. Now, in my previous video, I know I put Sweet Tooth in the trash tier, and I would say I want to apologize for that, but honestly, thinking back at it, that was the best choice, because Twisted Metal 2 Sweet Tooth, the fact that it's behind a cheat code is just already insane to me, because the car is terrible. It's a terrible vehicle, it handles terribly, it's super slow, and the special weapon sucks, and the character itself sucks. But this time around, it's literally the same vehicle in the sense of its speed and its handling, but it is a little bit stronger, I feel, in this game than it was in Twisted Metal 2, and the special weapon is like 3 times better. So it is pretty much like Mr. Grimm special, where it just goes straight in a line. However, it does go through walls, and you can detonate it on demand. And if you do get a direct hit with it, it does a massive amount of damage, actually more damage than Mr. Grimm special, ironically. So honestly, I'm going to give Sweet Tooth a B tier in this rating. Moving on to Flower Power, this is a one and done character just like Pit Viper. It's the only game that this character has ever been in Twisted Metal, and honestly, it's rightfully so. Flower Power is pretty middle of the road and, in my opinion, pretty bad. Their special is rated at a 3-star rating. I would argue it's a 1-star. We'll get into that in a second. Its speed is 2-star. Handling is actually 5 stars, and their armor is 2-star. I agree with everything else. I think they're okay to slow in terms of their speed. Their handling is great, and their armor is pretty bad. So yeah, bad armor and a pretty lackluster special. And their special, I mean, yeah, it homes in on the opponent pretty easily. It's really hard to miss, but it doesn't go through walls or anything, and it does little to no damage. It is actually useless. So honestly, I'm going to put Flower Power in the trash tier. And we're probably going to see a lot of trash tiers in this list, I'm not going to lie. And again, I'm being pretty critical because I was critical in the last 2 lists. And even though I do have a special place in my heart for Twisted Metal 3, I am being as critical as I possibly can. Moving on to Outlaw. Now this is a character that I guess even in this game's canon won Twisted Metal 2 storyline, because it's now both the brother and sister working together in this vehicle trying to win the contest once again. However, I don't know why they made the blonde for some reason. It's whatever. But yeah, so Outlaw is back, and based off their stats alone, they have a 3-star rating for their special, a 4-star rating for their speed, a 3-star for their handling, and a 2-star rating for their armor. Truthfully, I have to agree with these stats. It's pretty accurate. I would honestly say their special, though, would be a 4-star at the least. Main reason I say that is because not only can you now attack multiple people at once with one special, where back in the old Twisted Metal 1 and 2s, you only could attack one character at a time with their special. However, I do believe it does a little bit less damage this time around, and it doesn't stay connected depending on how far away you are from somebody. So if you lose the range of the character, it will disconnect the taser, where that didn't happen back in the day. That being said, though, I do like this special a lot more, because not only, like I said, you can connect to multiple characters at once, but if you do the exploit of doing a rear attack multiple times, you can stack its special and have the characters go flying out of the game and get killed. Not only that, but it does also, like you can see, lift vehicles. So you can use this super easily for crowd control, which is really nice. So really the only downside to Outlaw in this game is their armor. I wish they were a little bit stronger of a vehicle, because everything else I think is pretty okay. So honestly, I'm going to give them an A tier. Moving on to Warthog. This is a character that has seen pretty little amount of changes from the first 2 games. Even its design relatively looks the same as Twisted Metal 1 and 2, which is a little more blockier than the more rounder shape of the tank. But yeah, everything else is pretty much the same, even the same special weapon. But I like the look of this one better with the red, white, and blue missiles. However, the one thing I don't like about this vehicle in this game particularly is how weak they made the special weapon. I mean, everything else is pretty much the same. He's still pretty slow, he's pretty bad at handling, but he's got really good armor. But his special weapon should have been left alone. It should have been just as strong as it was in the original 2 games. But for some reason, they lowered the damage output tremendously. And on top of that, half the time, one of the missiles or 2 of the missiles miss completely, which is really weird. So I'm sorry, but this time around, I gotta put Warthog in the C tier. Again, because he's very slow, he's really terrible handling, and his special weapon is pretty lackluster this time around. The only thing going for him this time around is he's got pretty decent armor. Next is Club Kid. Now, I have actually made an entire video on this character alone because I truthfully feel they're one of the most broken characters in any Twisted Metal. And the reason I say that is because his special weapon, you can exploit it to no end. It's so damn strong. That being said, his stats show his special is for some reason only a 3-star rating. I would argue it's a 5-star. His speed is 2 stars, his handling is 5, and his armor is a 2-star. Everything else I agree with. He has really slow speed. Well, I guess he's not the slowest car, but he's pretty slow. He has really good handling, and he has really low armor because he's meant to be kind of like a glass cannon character because his special is just that insane. I also don't really mind his design. I think he's kind of cute looking. But yeah, overall, Club Kid's a lot of fun to play because he's basically the better Twister, if you think of it that way. Don't get me wrong, I love Twister from Twisted Metal 2 and Head On, but Club Kid's Tornado, he leaves it in the dust. He can run away from it, so there's no actual risk of getting damage from your own special weapon like Twister does. And he's a little bit tougher too. He takes more damage than Twister can. So Club Kid, I gotta say, I gotta put him in the S tier. Main reason is because his special is so overpowered with how many people can get sucked into it at once, how much damage you can do to the entire group of characters in one round. It's absolutely mind-blowing how strong his special is. This is actually the first time in my tier list I've had one in every category so far. So that's kind of cool. But moving on, we are looking at Firestarter. I actually made a video on this guy as well. I personally think he's one of the most forgettable characters in any Twisted Metal because he's never returned either. He's another character that's a one and done. And honestly, I think for good reason. Looking at his stats, he has a 3-star special. He has a 4-star speed, a 5-star handling, and a 2-star armor. So kind of middle of the road if you look at his stats alone. But in actual practice, I don't feel like he's that fast, even though they're saying he's a 4-star. He kind of feels a little slow. His handling is pretty good, but his armor is just really bad. He's a really weak character, and his special is, it's Thumper special from Twisted Metal 2, but a little worse. So you basically have to stop your car moving completely in order to get all of your fire to hit the character in front of you. And the only way to do that is to freeze them, which is what people mostly do with Thumper anyway. And his special does do a lot of damage if you can get someone stuck in place. But for the most part, yeah, they're going to probably run away and you're not going to do much damage at all and you're going to end up setting yourself on fire. So I'm going to put Firestarter in the C tier. And moving on to Mr. Grimm. Now this one's going to be painful for me and for everyone watching. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one. If you look at his stats alone, you're like, this guy's amazing. So he has a 5-star rating for his special, 4-star speed, 5-star handling, and then a 1-star armor, which makes sense in a motorcycle. But I don't know what they did here, but they shafted our man, Mr. Grimm here. His special says 5-star. I disagree entirely. It's the same as every other Twisted Metal. It's just a straight line shot, right? Just like we're used to, which is fine. But you're supposed to do a ton of damage if you get that direct hit. And the fact that Sweet Tooth special in this game does almost double the amount of damage with a direct hit than frickin' Mr. Grimm's, it just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, his special does not do enough damage in my opinion. He doesn't feel that quick either, and I think that's just the engine of the game. I don't think any car really feels fast in this game, except Minion. So yeah, Mr. Grimm really got shafted because he's not very fast. He has good handling for sure, but he's also super weak, of course, just like always. His special is not that great. It's kind of middle of the road if you ask me in terms of its damage output. And lastly, the design of his car is just terrible. I don't know who designed this vehicle, but my God, the 3-wheel design, it's just gross. So I'm sorry, this is really painful, but I have to put Mr. Grimm in the trash tier. Next is Thumper. And actually, I think they did a really good job with Thumper this time around because they gave him a little bit of a unique twist to his vehicle. He's no longer the flamethrower vehicle. They gave that to Firestarter. And instead, he has this unique special of like a sound wave from like a super duper speaker system. I just find that really funny, and it's really interesting, and it actually works really cool in practice. Because not only does it do a lot of damage to the vehicles in front of you, but it's good for crowd control, for pushing people out of your way. My only gripe with it is I wish it did either A, a little bit more damage, or B, just a little bit more of a push to really send people flying. If you use the code Massive Force, I think that is how the special should have been, in my opinion. But yeah, just vanilla gameplay, it's an okay special, and 3 stars is what I'm seeing here, and that's pretty accurate. He also has 3-star for his speed, 3 stars for his handling, and 3 stars for his armor. So yeah, he's literally the epitome of middle-of-the-road character. But I still have a special place in my heart for him. I love the design of the vehicle. I think his armor actually is more of a 4-star. He's a pretty strong vehicle. Like, you can take a lot of hits with him. His speed is pretty accurate for a 3-star. He's not bad. He's definitely not slow, but he's also not the fastest car in the game either. He's, again, pretty middle of the road, but he's a really good character, a lot of fun to play as, so I'm going to give him the A tier rating. Next is Minion, the other and only unlockable character in the game, next to Sweet Tooth. And I mean, come on, dude, like, it's an S tier. We all know Minion in any game is going to be S tier because he's insanely overpowered. He has the best special in the game. It's Warthog special, but it actually does damage, and it has a freeze missile included. And he's also super beefy in terms of his armor, and he's super fast. So yeah, Minion is clearly an S tier character. Next is Roadkill, and I feel like Roadkill gets a lot of flack in this game, and understandably so. I mean, his special weapon literally is pretty much the weight missile in the game. It's just a little bit different looking and has a bigger explosion, but I don't really know if it does more damage. But yeah, he gets shafted because his special is pretty meh. But I do like the design of the vehicle. I think it looks like it's straight out of Mad Max. It looks pretty cool in my opinion. But yeah, the character, of course, we're not going to get into that because all the characters suck. But his special weapon, I think, once you get used to it and you understand the range you have to use it at, it can do some sizable damage. And looking at his actual stats here, he has a 3-star special. He has 3-star for his speed, 5-star handling, and 3-star armor. I don't really have to complain about any of those stats. Those are pretty accurate to how he plays in the game. If anything, I actually would say he has a little bit more armor than 3-star. He feels a little bit stronger than that. So truthfully, I have to give Roadkill a B tier because I don't really think he's amazing, and I don't really think he's terrible. I have fun with him. Next is Axel, my absolute favorite from Twisted Metal 2, and I think a lot of people's fan favorite vehicle. And I'm glad that he made a return here, but they really shafted him in this game, just like Mr. Grimm, because they made his armor a lot weaker in this game than he was in Twisted Metal 2. He doesn't nearly have as much ram damage as he did back then either. And on top of that, they made his special like twice as weak. It's just, it does do crowd control still. It sends people flying if you hit them in the right direction, but it doesn't nearly do as much damage. And his speed here is slower as well. He's only got a 2-star rating for his speed and 1-star handling. The fact that his handling is really bad in this game, and they lowered his armor and the special output, I gotta put him at a C tier. And that really pains me to say because I love Axel as a character, but in Twisted Metal 3, he is just not it. Next is Specter, which is I made a whole video about this, and I know some people, probably most people are going to disagree with me, and that's totally understandable. But in my personal opinion, he's my favorite Specter in the entire series of Twisted Metal. And that's mainly because of the design of the vehicle. It's not because of the character himself. I could care less about the actual character who's driving the vehicle. It's more of the vehicle itself. I love the look of it. And the way it plays, it feels really good. I think it has the best control in the entire game, in my opinion. And I think it is the fastest vehicle in the game as well. And his special just looks badass. It's a green ghost missile. It goes through walls just like all the other Spectre missiles. And it does a relatively good amount of damage. It's definitely not amazing in its damage output, but it does what it needs to do, and it rarely misses its target. And looking at his stats, he has a 3-star rating on his special. I would argue it's a 4-star at least. He has a 4-star rating for speed. I would argue it's 5-star rating for speed. 3-star rating for handling. Again, argue 5-star rating for handling. I think it's one of the tightest controlling vehicles in the game. And 1-star rating for armor. That's relatively accurate because it's a sports car. It's not meant to be a super strong vehicle. But because it plays so damn well in this game and I always have a good time with him, I gotta give him the S tier ranking. Next is Hammerhead, and this is another character that, even in Twisted Metal 2, man, I felt so bad. They just keep getting shafted. I love the idea of a monster truck in Twisted Metal. I think that if they were to bring Hammerhead back in a future game, they need to figure out something that makes Hammerhead fun to play, because they just cannot figure it out for some reason. And I get it, you know, it's a monster truck, so obviously the clear answer is, oh, just have it run over vehicles. That's fine. But for some reason, with these games, they just do not know how to iterate a correct special weapon. And in this game, all Hammerhead does is lunge forward a little bit to ram your vehicle a little faster to do a little bit more ram damage. So yeah, their special is super weak, and it honestly is stupid because it actually hurts your vehicle at the same time of ramming others. So just like Twister and Twisted Metal 2, you're automatically risking killing yourself if you're using your own special. So their special, for some reason, is rated 3 stars. I would argue it's a 1-star special. Their speed is 1 star, their handling is 1 star, and their armor is 3 stars. And once again, it's a monster truck. Why the hell is their armor only 3 stars? They should at least be a 4-star vehicle for armor. It makes no sense to me. I'm sorry, it pains me again to say this, but Hammerhead is trash. And last, I want to say certainly but not least, but Auger in this game is he's just a failed, rejected Mr. Slam. I'm sorry. In Twisted Metal 4, they kind of redeemed him a bit by having him in tandem with Mr. Slam, but in this game, he's solo, the only construction vehicle, and he's just a worse Mr. Slam. He's got a giant drill in the front of his vehicle that picks up cars, but the problem with it is that not only can they still shoot you and freeze you while you're using the special on them, but yeah, you know, you could argue, yes, you can also shoot them while they're being used in the drill, which is cool, and it does do extra damage that way. But again, you risk hurting yourself because anything that has any type of explosion radius will affect you as well, since the car is so close in proximity to you. But again, 90% of the time, they're going to attack you while you're drilling them, and it just ends up you getting hurt anyway. His special is rated at 4 stars. I think that's pretty accurate for the damage output, because it does do a lot of damage if you can connect to somebody. That's another thing too, is the drill is a lot shorter compared to Mr. Slam's bucket, so hitting somebody correctly to get them in the special is a little more difficult. His speed is 1 star, handling is 1 star, and armor is 4 stars, which is pretty accurate. He does have quite a bit of armor, but his speed and handling is atrocious, and his special does become a hindrance that could hurt him. So truthfully, I'm going to have to put Auger in the C tier. Alright, so one little quick gloss over of my final tier list here. I just want to make sure I got everybody in the right places if I want to switch up anybody. Again, for S tier, we have Club Kid, Minion, and Specter. I think those are fine. That's where I would put them for right now. A tier right now is Outlaw and Thumper. I think those are both very good A tier characters. B tier right now is surprising to me, actually. Sweet Tooth and Roadkill. I never thought that I would actually have them in B tier. Especially, I have in C tier right now, Warthog, Firestarter, Axel, and we have Auger. I almost feel like I want to bump one of these guys up to B tier because I am being a little bit too critical. I think I'm going to move Axel up to B tier. The main reason I'm doing this is because even though his special was very much reduced in Twisted Metal 3 coming from 2, I have to give him a little bit of credit because his special does do pretty good crowd control at sending people flying away. And it still does a little bit of damage. It's just, again, it's a bummer that his control is so worse in this game. He's a lot slower, he has less armor, and his special still is not nearly as strong as it was in Twisted Metal 2. But it's still an iconic character. I love Axel, so I'm going to bump him up to a B. I think everybody else deserves their spots that they're in right now. And with that, this is going to be my final tier list for Twisted Metal 3. Again, my opinion does not matter. So if you don't agree with me, that's totally fine. Let me know in the comment section below what your tier list of Twisted Metal 3 characters would be. I love hearing you guys' thoughts on this, and I truly appreciate all the love and support from my previous 2 tier list videos. And yes, I am going to be working on Twisted Metal 4 tier list, Black, Small Brawl, and Head On in the near future. And of course, if you want me to do the PS3 version as well, I can do that. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, share, support as always. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace.